Last year on this program, pretty much on this day, it was about a year ago, famed investor Julian Robertson of the Tiger Fund said something significant. Now, you may know him. His fund has notched about 20 to 25% gains for 2 straight decades. He is one of the most famous investors in the world. And last year he said we were in for a quote-unquote doozy of a recession. He said the reason was the credit situation was worse than anyone thought. He also said he was bearish on stocks on that day. The market fell about 366 points in reaction for its first massive sell-off of the bear market. Well, this morning I sat down with Julian Robertson 1 year after this call and asked him if the worst is over.
I do think we're just getting into the recession. We haven't felt its effects yet. What we've seen has been a horrible stock market for about 4 weeks, but that should have some repercussions in the economy, and I think then we will get the doozy I was talking about.
So how do you define doozy at this point? I mean, some of the terms being thrown around are rather frightening. Some of the scenarios are rather frightening. What is a doozy of a recession?
Doozy's a tough one and a long one, and I think that's what we're headed for. You know, I don't mean to imply this is going to last quite as long as what's been happening in Japan, but when they went into their decline in 1990, almost 20 years ago, their people were loaded with savings, and we're all broke. If you exclude the home, which is really not a contributing asset to a family's, to being the ability to pay bills, and as a matter of fact is debilitating in that it increases the bills. If we leave out the home in the calculations, I'd say 80–85% of Americans were broke. So they have to cut back on their spending.
And how dramatic will that cutback be? I mean, are we talking about a slowdown of the depth of the Great Depression?
No, I don't think so. I think the governments are all working together to avoid that, and I think they will successfully avoid that. But I do think we're going to have maybe as long as 10 or 15 years of a very poor economy, and it should bring back some old American values that we've all forgotten about, such as thrift and saving, and that's not all bad.
When you say 10 to 15 years, do you mean 10 to 15 years of actual shrinking in the economy or just flatline?
I'm saying before we have a real good economy again, I think could be 10 to 15 years.
Some people have tried to make a broad statement that this is the beginning of a decline of a great empire. Would you say, I mean, you're talking about a 10 to 15 year slowdown, so if anyone's going to say that, it'd be you. Do you think that's going too far?
No, I really think that we will be a better country when these things have gone into effect.
Are you in favor of what Lloyd Blankfein actually said he was in favor of last week, which is a second stimulus package? And if so, what would you do?
Well, I really would like to see this be tried out. I'd also like to see our government do what has been done in the UK and around Europe, and that is guarantee the bank deposits. That would, in essence, avoid the counterparty risk that everybody worries about now.
Are you talking about unlimited FDIC insurance or interbank loans?
I'm talking about interbank loans, and I'm talking about FDI both.
Both. What is next? Are you going to wait and see whether you think we would need stimulus for the American consumer, and you said 85% of them are broke, or no?
Well, no, I really think that the American consumer wants to save now, and he's beginning to do a little bit of that. The tragedy is that the politicians, I don't think, want them to save, because if they're saving instead of spending, the economy slows somewhat. But I think in America, to shore up our defenses and again to restore thrift and savings, we need that.
Well, Julian also said that about 85% of Americans right now are, in his view, technically bankrupt. One of the most important things he said there, though, that even with a 10 to 15-year negative view on the economy, he still thinks America will be the world's most powerful economy. Stay with us because we continued this interview, and you're going to see more of it in the next few minutes on this program at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. You're going to find out whether Julian is buying or selling. As we indicated, one of the most famous investors of all time, where is he putting his money? Is he shorting again? What is his biggest trade right now on the long side and the short side? And what is his single biggest bet? He also weighs in on his view of commodities, what his trade is there, and he has a trade on Goldman Sachs.